Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Just to introduce myself with a few words. I'm Deputy Minister of Economy, Energy and Tourism in Bulgaria, in charge of tourism. And I'm very glad and happy to be here and to try to give to you some information about the old civilization to our country, Bulgaria. Uh, First idea that I have is to talk about our mineral springs. Because, you know, Bulgaria is the country with the biggest concentration of the thermal mineral springs in the world. Our daily capacity is about 473 million of liter. And just to compare, it is something like Niagara from mineral water. We have about 2,000 springs with thermal mineral water and 21 cities established, created by the Roman emperors in Bulgaria around the thermal mineral springs. Some of them has the name given by the emperors, like Ulpia Serdica, actual capital Sofia, on the name of Mark Ulpi Traian, like Diocletianopolis, actual Hisar, on the name of the Emperor Diocletian, like Costanes on the name of the great Emperor Constantine, etc. But the mineral bed, mineral springs, is maybe a speech to the pensioners, maybe to the people regarding their health insurance company. And suddenly I have idea to give to you other point to reflection, to discussion. This is part of the Thracian civilization, and this is the very old tradition, more than 3,000 years, how to brew the spirit alcohol and how to produce the wine and brandy. And this starts like part of the Mediterranean culture, the wine culture and the spirits culture. Let me now to give some information about this. And this could be very interesting because more than half of the treasury that we discover every year in Bulgaria from gold and silver was destined just to produce and to drink spirits drinks or wine. Thracian water, the distillation they used to brew in a copper like today. The name Thrace, which stands for today's land of Bulgaria, part of North Greece, and European part of Turkey, they was given by Romans, which called that way the province conquered by them in the 1st century after heavy battles with the Thracian people. In the historic sources, Homer, Herodotus, and other ancient authors placed Thracians in the same territory. That is the way the cult of Dionysus, you know, it's a god of the wine and the spirit drinks, originate from our lands. That cult begins honoring and misting before wine, a symbol of birth and eternal life. The exaltation from the alcohol used for unification with the gold, that Thracian mean. And essence of that cult are the Dionysus mysteries, where the exaltation with alcohol is sought deliberately in the reached state of consciously was admitted as a divine fusion from the mystery participants. In that period, the classical word for the fermented grape juice used by the ancient people as oinos. Now the English word is wine, coming from oinos. But in the sources, another Thracian word is also being used, zela. This means for identification of a sacred Thracian drink that leads to deeper exaltation and possesses high level of alcohol. The same word is made in the Roman sources, which pointed that the Thracian aristocracy loved only war, horses, women, and zela. Zela was simultaneously fire, flesh, blood, and life. It helped the Thracians to deliberate their souls and to fuse with the gods. Their affection to Zela was so big that Herodotus said that everything is joined between Thracian except the sword and the cup for Zela. From the historical data, we understand that the Thracian Zela was a drink with high content of alcohol made of wine or fermented grape juice. There is plenty of evidence for that. In Odyssea, there is description of the drink of the legendary Thracian king Maron, which originated from Dionysus himself. Homer tells that the king mixed the drink with 10 times more water, and pleasant odor was springing from the crater. The crater, that is a special pottery of the Thracian, especially for Zela, often made of gold or silver. You can see that maybe. In that quote from Odyssey, the power of the alcohol beverage is underlined, and it obviously is not wine according to our perception for wine, but it's a drink with much more higher level of alcohol in it, and the one's drinking is falling asleep straight away. The descripted by Homer match completely with facts from newer history that happened in 16th century when Dutch traders then supplied England with wine from Aquitania, actual Bordeaux, looked for a way to decrease the transport expenses and tried transporting concentrated wine with higher level of alcohol that after its delivery in England was mixed with water in order to be drank. The Dutchman Gédéon Godet was the first to fulfill that idea, this link to wanted wine from the Charente region, after transporting it in burnt oak was the English market. Over there, the diluted beverage, which actually was nothing but the good brandy or the first cognac, was mixed many times with water before being drank. Gédéon Godet, who gave the name to the oldest brandy of French cognac, had no idea then he copies an ancient technique used by the Thracian people thousands of years before. That kind of drink the Dutchmen used to call brandy wine, mean burnt wine, took to the well-known name. Brandy as unified name of all beverages delivered from wine or grape distillation. Clear known that the usual proportion used by the Thracian to mix the wine is 1 to 3 wine to water. Even Herodotus wrote, Thracian wine was so heavy that civilized Greeks used to mix with 3 times more water than didn't drink is clear, like the barbarian Thracian used to do. Anybody could see the difference, 3 to 1 or 10 to 1 for Zela. Again, in Odyssey, Homer describes how an eyed giant Polypheme fell asleep when drank from the divine beverage of Thracian, which Odyssey poured him. Most probably, Polypheme was drunk Zela, the Thracian Zela, which explains how a giant like him, that was way much higher and heavier compared to ordinary people, and could drink so much that fell and went asleep, allowing Odyssey and his comrades to blind his only eye and to flee from his cave. According to Macrobius, another author of this time, in the temple of Dionysus, in the holy mountain of the Thracian, an eternal divine flame was burning, kept by the Thracian oracles. This mountain could be Rhodope, on the border between Bulgaria and Greece. The fortune tellers used to foretell the future with that very fire pouring the divine beverage in it. The outcome of an event was predicted via the burning flames. Alexander the Great himself used to visit that sacred place before starting his Persian excursion and learned from the oracle on the divine place that he will conquer the East and become great. Attention, not only a scientist, but anybody who used to brew brandy knows that only brandy or other beverage with 14-degree or higher level of alcohol content is capable to inflame already burning fire, like the fortress used to do. It's not possible with the wine. The wine could only put out a burning fire when poured directly inside it. It becomes clear why Zela is a sacred drink. It's a strong alcohol drink. It was the only drink that can contact the fire and change it in a way depicting the coming future. It is known that the wine and the brandy are products of two absolutely different processes. The wine is product from fermentation of grape or other fruits. There are a different tradition of making wine from raspberries, apples. For example, this is the cider, while the distillate high percentage alcohol beverage, among which it's a brandy, they are a result of boiling. There is unreliable information that the first beverage with a high level of alcohol, Zella, was the prototype of the well-known by us grape brandy. But still have the tradition known the distillation. We find the truth in the ancient authors or more time. The author of Iliad gives an unconditional answer. This is the answer of Homer. In verse 185 of book 23, Funeral Games in honor of Patroclus, Homer describes the cares taken for the felled hero Hector. Now this is the citat of Homer. Anointed his body daily and nightly with attar of ambrosia, not to have wounds when his body was dragged. The mystery is resolved. Yes, in the ancient time, the Thracian used to know that secret of distillation and did use it for the preparation of a variety of the products, such as attar of ambrosia, this means oil of roses, and the attar of roses is a distillate product. It could be produced only by distillation. It can be produced by distillation of the special roses called the Rosa Damascena. A fact that can be confirmed not only by professors or scientists, but also from every rose brewer from Rose Valley of Bulgaria. This is a tradition more than 3,000 years in our country. Just for this, maybe to this moment, we are still the leader of producing the rose oil. The technologies for rose distillation, and the same from many generations and centuries. Moreover, the copper pottery used for the obtained and the same of the tradition used for brewery of brandy in the same time in the older city in the Rose Valley. In areas of this city called Kazanlak or Karlovo, the brandy made in such pottery is still being called Gyulovica. This is the old Persian name Gyul, that means the rose like raw material to producing the rose oil. And the first brandy produced in this pottery has the nose of the roses. In terms of the Thracian used copper pottery for brandy brewery that is still being used today, and that they knew the secret of attar of rose distillation. The modern science and medicine gives evidence that the attar of roses or the rose oil and its products are capable of erasing scars and healing wounds such as burnings, operational scars, etc. And these products are still being prepared in Bulgaria. To this moment, we are the biggest producer of this natural type of products. Homer has said, is Iliad depicting 33 centuries old events. The Thracian used to prepare and drink a beverage capable to be mixed with 20 times more water, preserving its quality. To that can be added right in the 14th century before Christ, words of Aristotle, the personal teacher of the man and mentor of Alexander the Great. Sea water can be transformed into drinking on via distillation, as well as Thracian wine and other liquids, and that can be shown with one process. The evidence that the Thracian has known the process of distillation and all elements of the production, pottery, high alcohol percentage, obtaining attar of roses, are so many and logical that we can accept that the made by them beverage called Zela is the prototype of the contemporary brandy or cognac. And also we can accept that based on the ancient knowledge of Thracian is next epochs as identical way to well-known alcohol beverage have been brewed and well as the perfume and all the cosmetics now. This is the small story about some traditional, knowledge, traditional Thracian 3,000 years ago. In the same time, in the books now we can write that the distillation was created by Arabian alchemist in the 7th century. But we have many proof that this could be part of the Thracian civilization. This is my short speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Botev, for your interesting lecture and the new insights. Are there maybe any questions? I can come give the microphone.
Hi, thanks for the speech. My name is Luke, I'm an intern here. I was wondering, how would you exactly put the topic or the content of your presentation in the context of this conference exactly? Thanks.
Because my first language is French, I try to use the help of my assistant here. Когато говорим за средиземноморска цивилизация, изобщо за европейска цивилизация, виното и алкохола е част от европейската култура.
When we talk about Mediterranean culture and European culture, wine is part of European culture and Europe.
Дори ще дам един много интересен пример в това отношение.
I will give you an interesting example.
Когато Омир описва Троянската война,
When Omir describes the Trojan War,
той на няколко пъти споменава, че гръцките войски около Троя с нетърпение чакат корабите с гъсто тракийско вино, които да бъдат доставени за армията.
Several times he talks about the Greek ships awaiting on the coasts, and the Greek wine expected that will be ported through these ships.
Включително много точно са описани броя на войниците и броя на корабите. Те са точно 1146 и около 120 000 войници.
There were 1146 ships
120 000.
and 120,000 soldiers.
Представете ли си за каква индустрия и за каква логистика е ставало въпрос, за да може тази армия да бъде снабдявана постоянно с вино?
You can imagine for how the amount of wine that we can talk about and the amount of goods that they have to be applied with.
Става въпрос за сериозна индустрия, за сериозна логистика.
We're talking about a serious industry and logistics.
Разстоянието от вътрешността на Тракия до Троя е близо 450 км.
So the distance between Thracia and Troya is around 450 kilometers.
При което гроздото е трябвало да бъде набрано, виното произведено, след което доставено по река Марица до Егейско море.
So first, if we look at the procedure of producing wine, we have first the grapes, then producing the wine, and then delivering the wine.
По река Марица до Егейско море.
From the river Maritsa to the Aegean Sea.
Оттам до остров Тасос.
And from there to the island of Tassos.
И от остров Тасос до Троя през Средиземно море.
And from the island of Tassos to the Mediterranean Sea.
Става въпрос за една много сериозна индустрия и много добра логистика.
We are speaking about very big industry and serious logistics.
За което са били необходими буквално стотици кораби.
And hundreds of ships were needed for this industry.
и става въпрос за период преди 3300 години.
And this was around 3,300 years ago.
Изследванията на научните изследвания показват, че за да се произведе това необходимо количество вино, лозята, които са били засадени в Тракия, са представлявали дори по-голямо количество от сегашното число лозя, от сегашната квадратура от лозя.
So according to the academics, the grapes which were produced at this time, the amount of the grapes was much bigger than the production of nowadays.
Дали успях да отговоря на вашия въпрос?
I hope I could answer your question, but if you have additional remarks.
Не.
Да, доволно.
Окей.
Yeah. Okay, let's take two last questions here, and then we can make a general answer. Like, yeah, we have one here, and then we go to the front.
Добър ден, Mr. Deputy Minister. My name is Mats Mateusz Stolz Fritzberger from the Danish United Nations Association. I have a good friend who is an excellent home brewer in Sofia, and he will be very pleased to hear about your great support for this industry in Bulgaria. But I have myself witnessed that there is a lot of concentration of standard beer products from Denmark as Tuborg and Carlsberg in the shops of Bulgaria, while you yourself have excellent products both in beer and wine and spirits. I'm thinking, as in conjunction with the theme of tourism, as we know all about the tourism industry of Scotland, concentrated among the whiskey distilleries, I can absolutely picture something similar to that for the case of Bulgaria. And I was wondering, what are your, would this be possible? And secondly, as to export, what are your expectations from the state level of wine and spirits export from Bulgaria outside? Thank you.
Започвам така отзад напред. България е един от най-големите износители на вино в света.
Bulgaria is one of the biggest exporters of wine in the world.
Около 200 000 тона е експорта само на бутилирано вино.
It's around 200,000 tons of bottled wine around the world.
В същото време ние сме и доста сериозен консуматор, защото това е част от българската кухня и българските традиции.
At the same time, we as well are big consumers of wine because it's part of our tradition and culture.
И в същото време никой не би могъл да каже, че в България хората се напиват.
And at the same time, nobody can say that Bulgarians drink too much.
Че виното е част от съвременната кухня и традиции е факт. В Европа специално.
Is it fact that in Europe wine is part of the contemporary culture and cuisine?
Ще дам само един пример. Австрия е една много туристическа страна.
I'll give an example with Austria. The country is very visited.
75% от австрийското вино се изпива на място в австрийските къщи за гости, в австрийските ресторанти, в австрийските хотели.
75% of the Austrian wine is drunk inside of the country in guest house, hotels, restaurants.
Почти 40% от френските вина се изпиват също така на място от туристи, без най-скъпите, които просто трябва да стигнат до международния пазар.
An example with France, almost 40% of the wines are consumed as well in France, inside of the country, a part of the most luxurious wines which are exported, of course.
В България има 266 винарни,
In Bulgaria, there are 266 wineries,
от които около 50 са големи индустриални предприятия,
from which 50 are big industrial companies,
докато другите са по-скоро шато за посещение от туристи с хотел и ресторант към него.
The rest are just small family houses where people can go and taste wines.
With a hotel and restaurant around. И ние имаме 8 маршрута по стари римски пътища и стари римски градове, които минават през винарни. Така да се каже, 8 пътища на виното и на римските императори.
In Bulgaria we have 8 routes of the Roman empires. They come from the old Roman routes, and these are the routes of as well of the wine.
Така че считам, че както кухнята е част от традициите и от културата и от туризма, така и виното като компонент е част от тази култура и туризъм.
I consider the cuisine part of the culture and traditions of a nation, and as well the wine is a plus and as well is part of the culture and traditions of one nation.
И дадох пример с съкровищата на траките. Половината от тези съкровища са всъщност посветени на пиенето на вино, на зело и на смесването на тези напитки.
As I gave an example with the Thracian treasures, half of the treasures of the Thracians are involved with wine and brewing wine. And
Дали успях да отговоря?
I hope I answered your question.